Hello, my name is Matthew, and I read The Man with the Twisted Lip by Sir Conan Arthur Doyle. This is a part of my read along series and book club with Steve Donahue, where we are reading all of the Sherlock Holmes stories in the month of March. So we're reading murder mysteries in mammoth quantities. And I read The Man with the Twisted Lip, a Sherlock Holmes story. And this was one that I didn't remember at all, and I absolutely loved it. It had an atmosphere and an adventurousness to the story that was a little different and just perfectly complemented an eerie, mysterious feeling. And it begins, surprisingly, with Dr. Watson having a little mini adventure to kick off the story. He gets home from a long day at the practice. Um, it's late at night. His wife is knitting on the sofa, and there's a rapid knocking at the door. The door flies open. A woman runs into the room and just flings herself on the wife. And we learn very quickly it's a neighborhood friend, but it was such a late hour, an unusual time for visitors, and the frenzied entrance caused a stir in the household, a brief alarm. But they realize that it's a friend of theirs that is in a panic, and this woman is all out of sorts and harried because her husband has an opium addiction, and he disappears infrequently. He'll be gone for a day, and it's one of those kinds of stories where the wife is saying, but he always comes back in a day. And now it's been 2 days. 2 days have gone by, and she's just pulling her hair out, and she says she knows where he is. And the attention turns to Watson. Can you go down to this opium den and retrieve this woman's husband? And Watson gets his boots back on, calls a carriage or a hansom, and we go into like the seedy underbelly of London's opium scene, and we um, we go down into this drug den, and it's just beautifully, evocatively described. And so many of these stories are so literary. Flaubert has come up, and Petrarch has come up, and in this story, Thomas Dickinson comes up with the kind of romanticized, strange, fantastical nature of being addled by opium and laudanum, and how it had this alluring appeal, and that it's a drug that just gets you in its clutches and ruins your life. And in this opium den, there's just bodies on the ground, or tossed over furniture, people that are just incapacitated, in a opium daisy slumber. And Watson finds his man, finds the husband, and he's on his way out, and he gets a call. He hears something, and one of the slumped over, opium addicted people in this den calls for him, and this person stands up and immediately is able to transform themselves, gets taller and rosier and more stately. And it's the master of disguise, Sherlock Holmes, and he's there solving an entirely other case. And he goes, "Oh my good Watson, you're here. I'm going to need your help. I can see what you're doing. We'll send this husband back. Can you help me for the rest of the night?" And this is now Watson's second adventure for the night after a long day at work. So now even later. And Watson, of course, agrees. He always likes spending time with the crazy world of Sherlock Holmes. And they need to go to a neighboring town. It sounds like it's almost even outside of London, like the suburbs. And while on their way, Holmes is talking about this case and being very general, nondescript. I've never seen such a case that had so many straightforward, simple facts that I cannot decipher. It's a simple case that's proving to be difficult. And Watson is even saying, "You still haven't told me anything. I don't know why you were at the opium den. I don't know what the case is. I don't know where we're going." And instead of just giving a very quick summarization, which does happen, instead we just have this carriage ride where they sit in silence because Sherlock Holmes ponders. He's working things out in his mind. And by the time they get there, the story starts coming out. And it's a whole new story that ties back into the opium den and how Watson ended up. It ties back into the opium den. And it's another woman who believes that her husband has gone missing. Something bad has happened to him. Possibly he's been kidnapped or murdered. Her husband left for the day to go to London to go to work. And the wife has a parcel that she wants to take into town, into the city as well. And unbeknownst to the husband. So she's walking down a city street. And she looks up at a first or second story window, and she sees her husband in the window, and he cries out a shriek and disappears into the darkness of the room. And he's not wearing any clothes except for a jacket, like a big overcoat jacket. Otherwise, he's bare-chested, and she is in a panic, and she runs to this building. It turns out it's the opium den. And by the time she manages to get up to this room where she saw her husband through the window, there's nobody there except for a crippled beggar that just squats in the corner. And it's a beggar that everybody knows in town, relatively harmless. He's lame, and he sells little matches. It's a workaround, a loophole for beggars at the time, because he had to sell some kind of trinket. The police are called. The person's not in the house, but little bits of evidence start coming up. His clothes are there. There's blood on the windowsill. There's a window at another part of the room that directly faces like a river. And so the guy's not in the drug den. He's not in the room. There's a possibility that he was murdered and thrown out the window, but it's all very strange. The cripple is taken into police custody, and they just can't figure out what happened, and they're not even sure that the woman saw what she saw. Very odd. And so Holmes gets involved, this is where we're at. And she goes to, Holmes is there, and their first interaction, she says to him, very frankly, do you believe my husband has been murdered? Or do you believe my husband is dead? And Holmes says, yes, I do. It's very likely that he is dead. And she says, well, how is it then? I just got a letter from him today. And it's a great moment, but it's very cheaply earned. It's one of the few instances of inconsistencies in this fantastical world. All the allowances that you can make with Sherlock Holmes's supernatural deductions. This woman, the wife, was acting the way that Sherlock would act, having a setup question, having the big reveal. It would not have gone like that at all. They would have shown up, Holmes and Watson. She would have said, I just got a letter from my husband. It's still good. It's still great, though. And they get some more information. They all sit down. Holmes and Watson retire to bed. And Holmes just meditates. He piles up all these pillows and cushions, and Watson goes to bed because he's dead exhausted. Holmes, when he's on a case, if he's really involved in something, he can go days, sometimes a week, without sleeping, we're told. Wakes up in the morning, goes, okay, I think I've sorted the whole thing out. Let's go back to the police station where they're holding the cripple. They promptly walk in, and there's like a Mission Impossible style ending. I won't give it away. It's ludicrous. The impossibility, the improbability of all of these things happening is granted. But it was such a fun adventure to go through. Watson having his little adventure. We get a sense that the world that we're in, London in the Victorian period, is a very richly realized, lived-in city. It's populated. There's people on the streets. It does not have like a claustrophobic, isolated, small-scale, small cast of principal characters with no background behind it. The environment, the city, when they're in the city or in the drug den, out in the countryside, everything is just so fully realized. The landscape, but also the doings of the people in these settings. And Holmes figures it out. It's another one of these cases where it's not certain that a major crime had been committed. It's not someone who gets the handcuffs slapped on them, and Sherlock just had another person off to prison for something that they did. Instead, it's just much stranger. Terrific. So that was The Man with the Twisted Lip, and the description of this character plays really well into the story, and it's just very well done. So if you've read it, I didn't give away what happened. The Man with the Twisted Lip, please let me know. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you would like. Thank you for watching, and take care. Bye.